Lynette Sacchetto, founder of RealTrust and Data Queen of Dubai. Welcome to the Rebel Agent podcast.
Thank you so much, David, for having me.
Not at all. Looking forward to this, particularly as a happy customer of RealTrust.
Yes.
Very good. Perhaps we could do a bit of an intro, give us a bit about your background, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. So Lynette Sacchetto, I've been living in Dubai for the last 18 years, originally from the US, Chicago. My background is technology. So I've been in technology for the last 30 years. And I specialize here in the UAE in PropTech. That's what I've done ever since I arrived. I worked on the open data initiatives here in Dubai with the government. Worked on a few B2B real estate data platforms. I was with Property Finder for 4 years, where I did B2C as well. And today I am the founder of RealTrust, which is a digital escrow service company here in the UAE.
Fantastic. I mean, you were a serial entrepreneur, aren't you? Because back in the US, you had your own tech businesses. Is that right? Can you talk a bit about that?
Yes. So I started my first tech consulting firm when I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah, in Chicago. And this is right when I started uni, which was also right before the dot-com boom. So technologies such as Microsoft, Netscape back then, which is now Sun Microsystems, Oracle, they were at the beginning phases of their corporate, large-scale architecture for businesses. And I was at the forefront of that. I've always loved technology. Ever since I was 7 years old, I started my first programming class, basic programming class.
So you're a coder?
Yes, I am a coder. I still code to this day.
Do you really?
Yeah. So I saw that opportunity. I saw the vision of what these large corporates wanted to do, especially for enterprise level corporate. So I started the consulting firm. And while I was at uni, I was consulting for Microsoft.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a very busy time. Full-time uni.
So were they centralized then? They were in Silicon Valley, presumably?
Seattle. Yeah. So Microsoft, I think they are still in Seattle.
Really? Okay.
At that point. But I was working on corporate projects. So at that time, I was at the Chicago Public Schools. That was my project that I was working on.
Wow. Yeah. So how did you get into real estate?
So I've always had a passion for real estate. When I was young, also from what I remember, 6, 7 years old, my mother owned an apartment building in Chicago, and English is her second language. So I would help her with the tenants. I would help collect rent with maintenance. And it was like my own little Monopoly game, I like to call it. We had 8 units in this apartment building. So ever since then, I caught that real estate bug, and I bought my first property when I was 18 in Chicago.
Wow. So where did she move from, your mum?
From Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she was able to purchase this building?
Yes. Yeah. It was a hard worker, my mom. She came to the States when she was 15. She had a second grade education. So she came to the States as a maid. And she just, like a lot of Latino Americans in the US, work multiple jobs at the same time and just save money. And it was always, her mindset was always to own her property.
Oh, wow. And particularly immigrants, don't they? When immigrants come into a place, they seem to work on average even harder than the indigenous population.
Yeah, exactly. Because they don't have no other choice.
Yeah.
And then she met my father in Chicago. My father's from Lithuania.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, two very different, diverse backgrounds. So he came from a completely different background, highly educated family. My father had his PhD. Together they bought the apartment building.
Fantastic. So you worked on that and you gained the experience, fell in love with real estate. And where did it go from there?
For real estate, so 18 first building, then I would continue to buy properties, flip them depending on the location. Then in 2000, I moved to Las Vegas. At this point...
Is that connected with property or relationship? Or?
Yes, because Las Vegas was very much of a booming real estate market, how we see Dubai today.
Yeah. Desert as well, isn't it?
Desert, a lot of... people were moving there, and there was a huge housing boom. And when I moved in 2000, we were like right at the very beginning of it. And at this point with technology, I was already in it for quite some time. And 2008 is when I started, not 2018. Sorry, just did the math there. 2008 is when I started my first consulting company. So I was already working for Microsoft. I was living on airplanes and hotels, and I needed a break. So when I moved to Las Vegas, I decided to get my real estate license to go to school. So in Nevada, it's a 6-month education process. You have your real estate basics, you have your ethics, and you have your legal. So I did that, passed the test. There's 3 tests, and then I got my real estate license.
You clearly just like studying as well as working hard.
That came from my father. Yeah. He like really drilled it into my head at a very, very young age. I went to normal American English school, and I also went to Lithuanian school every day, and also all day Saturdays. So it was a very hardcore academic curriculum. So since I can remember, it's always been drilled in my head. So yes. So got my license in Nevada. And then I started working for a business brokerage. So we did business brokering, we did commercial as well as residential. And then I really fell in love with the residential part of things, focused on that. Then in my second year, I was in the top 2% of sales in Las Vegas.
Wow.
And decided to open my own brokerage.
Yeah, so you were working as a broker for a brokerage.
Exactly.
But you were personally top 2%.
In Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And then you decided, why am I making all this money for this brokerage?
Exactly.
I could be doing this myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And at that time, so technology always stuck in my head. And I always wanted to bring tech into my real estate. But back then, you didn't even really have websites for brokerages. So I remember Coldwell Banker and a few others. So I found a company out of Silicon Valley that created a custom website for me. Also, we had MLS. So MLS it's a portal. It still is a portal where you access your properties, and that was very digital. So I integrated that with my website, and I was one of the very few in Las Vegas.
So you're way ahead.
Yeah, because I had that technology mindset, and I just knew that I had to somehow integrate that into real estate back then. And then I would join various different groups, especially out of Silicon Valley, for leads. That's how I was generating leads. So that is really what helped me get into that top 2%.
Yeah. And how long did you have your own brokerage for?
And so I moved to Dubai in 2006.
Right. Did you sell the brokerage, or how did that work?
No, I didn't sell the brokerage. I actually gave it to one of my leading brokers there.
Yeah.
And I was still generating revenue while I was in Dubai for like the first year or two. Then I decided to have a family, and everything just changed from there.
Yeah. How many brokers did you have in your brokerage?
It was a small brokerage. We had 8 by the time I left.
But it's still reasonable size.
Yes. Yeah. And it was diverse between business brokering, commercial, and residential brokers.
And when you get your license in the US, does that allow you to do the business brokerage as well?
No, it's a different license.
It's a different license.
Completely different license, course, tests, everything.
Yeah. I compare it or contrast it so much with the UK, where you can you're probably aware, but you can set up a real estate company the next day if you want, whether it's brokering for business or just an estate agency.
Yeah.
It blows the mind of Americans, doesn't it, and people in this region.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's very different.
Yeah. So what made you come to Dubai?
So I came in 2005 on a trip with friends, very prominent doctors in the US. And they were looking at the world, at the islands in the Palm. And they wanted my opinion. So came with them. I stayed at the Burj Al Arab. That was amazing. That was just right when they opened.
You came at the right time.
Came at the right time. We went to the Palm. This is when it was completely under construction. And they were looking at a few islands in the world. And when I arrived, I was just, if you can imagine, just blown away at that point. To see all the cranes in the sky as you're driving down Sheikh Zayed and when you're going into the Palm, it was absolutely, I was so impressed. So I said, okay, this is definitely where I need to be. And the next year I moved.
You moved across. And what did you do when you first came?
So when I first came, I was approached by a Canadian franchise called Home Life. And they asked me to run the brokerage here. Now, this was before Property Finder, before Bayou Dubizzle was here. The classifieds is where you got the real estate. This was before RERA.
Yeah, so there weren't portals. There wasn't much online.
Nothing.
We were just using the newspapers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I said, sure. This is a great way to start. It's a Canadian franchise. They're the largest in Canada. Great way to start and get my feet wet. And that was quite an experience, especially before RERA, because there was no regulations, there was no licenses. It was just very much the Wild Wild West.
And you were running this.
I was running it. And also, so as an American coming here, I'm from Chicago. I'm multicultural myself, and I'm used to living in a melting pot with different nationalities, cultures, religions. But that's Chicago, and you're all American in some way, first generation or whatnot. To come here to then work with all these nationalities who also just came was very interesting. It took a lot to adapt to. Just trying to figure out how everyone worked, mentality, culture, everything. And at that point, when I entered the business, there was about 30 agents that I was managing. I didn't broker, so I've never brokered here in Dubai. And it was an experience. So I did that for 2 years. And then at that point, halfway through, RERA was established. I was in one of the first RERA classes to get my license here. And then 2 years in, I decided to take a break and start a family.
Cool. So you're working for this Canadian franchise. What's it like managing all those staff? What was that?
It was very difficult. Yeah, it was very, very difficult because...
Different nationalities?
Very diverse, mostly from this region. And coming from a very structured real estate environment like the US, especially where you have an MLS system and you have your rules, your regulations, ethics, very big in the US in real estate. None of that existed here. So I really struggled with the ethic part of it because there were none. And then also they didn't know the business. You know, these are people who never did real estate before and they just decided to wake up one day and go to Dubai and do real estate. So like a lot of people back then, which is kind of what we're seeing now.
If you're a guy, put a suit on, get a car,
exactly.
and you're a real estate agent.
Exactly. So it was quite challenging. And to be honest with you, I didn't like it. I didn't, which is why I decided to take a break and start a family at that point.
Presumably at that stage, you were also thinking there's opportunities here.
Absolutely. From the day I landed looking for an apartment, realizing that there was no data, none.
Yeah.
People didn't even understand what data could be available. And, you know, coming from the States, from MLS, and at that point we had Zillow and they were doing comparative market analysis. And I just said a massive opportunity for that here.
But at the end of the day, the properties are being built here. It's going to be sold one way or another. Now, if you can transition from the Wild West of real estate, which is what it was back then, to a more regulated market with a lot more data today, it's so much better. But that creates a massive opportunity, which you've taken advantage of.
Yes. Yeah. So that's when I decided to go into PropTech, to start the real estate technology. It was in PropTech. That word didn't exist back then. But to go into real estate technology and focus on the data and to work on bringing open data to the market.
Yeah, exactly. So after you had your girls, when did you first come back in after that? And who did you work for then? Or was it your own business?
Yes, it was a startup called Easy Estate.
Okay.
So this was, my first daughter was born in 2009. So 2010, I started with a startup called Easy Estate. There was two of us that were partners. And actually, it's funny because the other day, it's still on my LinkedIn profile, and we did a video. This is 2009. If you have a chance, take a look at this video of the portal. It's a real estate portal, like Property Finder or Bayou. Features on this video from 2010 still don't exist in the market today here.
Really?
Blows my mind. Basic things, but still don't exist in the market today. So what I did is I wanted to copy that Zillow model that truly a model,
Yeah,
and bring it
the
here.
big American portals.
Exactly. And bring the listings with the agent profiles, the custom agent profiles, where you can rate them and you see information about them and the areas that they specialize in and the languages that they speak. So if you're new to Dubai and you're just looking for an agent, you will be able to search for an agent based on that criteria. Also the data, it was very data driven. So data that we had statistically within the portal is what we were using to power this portal.
So it sounds like it was ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time.
Fantastic.
So, and like any prop techs here, it takes a lot of money and you burn a lot of cash.
Yeah.
So obviously it didn't last very long. So I was in that until about 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started consulting for various different more SMEs in the region. So like the largest mortgage platform, which now is Husby back then.
Right.
And for various different other entities. And then that's how I got involved with Cavendish Maxwell. So I was consulting for them. They wanted to be more tech enabled and utilize the various different data sets that they had, which was music to my ears. Then I started working for them in 2014. And they had an index, but it was averages. But it was using the traditional model of basket of goods for averages, and it was on a spreadsheet. And this is when I came up with the concept to say, okay, let's digitize this. Let's create a B2B portal. We have the data from Cavendish Maxwell, the valuation data. There's mortgage data. There's the listing data from the portals. And at that time, Dubai Land Department was putting a little bit of the transaction data on their website. I said, let's take all this information, create a proper B2B portal, like CoreLogic in the States. And this is how Property Monitor was born.
Oh, wow. So did you work for Property Monitor?
I created it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That was yours that you created. Fantastic. And did you have partners with that? Or?
So it was Cavendish Maxwell.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was Cavendish Maxwell that where Property Monitor still sits today.
And how long were you there?
Till 2018.
Right.
Then in 2018, I started working for Property Finder.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you obviously got a lot of experience from what you just done. And you were there, what, about 4 years?
4 years at Property Finder, yeah. And there we focused on...
helping them with their data analytics, all this sort of stuff.
Exactly. B2C, B2B. We created Data Finder. And the biggest thing that came out of Property Finder for me was Muasher. And that's the first official house price index for the city of Dubai in partnership with Dubai Land Department.
And was the help from, because presumably there are those indexes for other cities throughout the world, was the help from outside, from say, I don't know, New York, London, or how did you create that index?
In-house. So Property Finder has still an amazing data science team.
Right.
And in partnership with Dubai Land Department, we were working with their chief economist at that time. And we built the model based on a hedonic regression model, which is the traditional model used in major, advanced, modern real estate cities.
Sure. Yeah.
And we customized it and tailored it here for Dubai. And it was highly influenced by the JLL Global Real Estate Index. So as you probably know, cities fight to be at that top list of transparency. So at that point, Dubai, I believe it was in the 40th position, and they really wanted to increase that to get closer to the transparent part of that index. And Muasher was a huge driver for that. And sure enough, in 2022, so Muasher came out in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really bad with my dates today.
No
So
worries.
it came out in 2019. So sure enough, 2020, when the JLL Global Real Estate Index came out, they did move 4 spots because of Muasher.
Yeah. So you really have been a pioneer with all these statistics, haven't you, and data for Dubai. That's incredible. So after Property Finder, where did you go then?
Then I spent a year at Allsup and Allsup.
Uh-huh.
I was helping them with their digital transformation. That was very interesting. That was a lot of fun. Then after that, I took a sabbatical. I took a year off. I had to go to the States, take care of a few things. And then when I returned, I started advising for the Saudi government for PIP.
Oh, wow. Just before we get into that, what was it like being back in the States, spending some time there after Dubai for so many years?
It's always a culture shock for me to go back. It's a very different place from what I left it. It's a lot more homelessness.
Typical Western country, really, isn't it?
I mean, you get very used to living in a place like Dubai where it's very clean, very safe. You know, that's the other thing. Every time I go back to the States, I'm like overly cautious because I don't want to forget, you know, to leave my phone on the table or to leave my purse somewhere. So I'm like overly cautious and it just drives myself nuts.
Yeah.
So,
because your whole mindset's changed, isn't it, from being here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the good and the bad. So it was nice to be back. I spent a lot of time with my mother, which is the main reason why I had to go back. So it was nice.
Yeah. And then you came back here and you were with the Saudi government, were you advising?
With the PIF entities, yeah. So basically advising the real estate government bodies on their data, how to collect the data, what type of data to collect, what to do with the data.
So that was a consultancy role. And how long did that last?
Lasted a little less than a year.
Yeah. But great experience for you.
It was.
You were based in Dubai and just traveling across?
Yeah. Then at some point for about a few months, I stayed in Riyadh.
Did you?
Yeah.
Cool. And then was it RealTrust after that?
Then RealTrust. Wow. So RealTrust has been on my mind for over a decade.
Yeah.
So while I was working on the open data initiatives, there's no escrow here for the secondary market.
Crazy, isn't it?
The process just doesn't exist, and it's so much needed, especially for international buyers or those who don't have UAE bank accounts. So it's something that has always been on my mind. Never had the time to focus on it. Then earlier this year, actually, at end of last year, I said, okay, I'm gonna do my research. I'm going to see how we can service the market and how to customize the American title and escrow concept to Dubai. Because I've been fortunate enough to learn a lot of real estate from different countries. And title and escrow from the US makes perfect sense here, just like MLS makes perfect sense here with certain tweaks to the market. So I brought that model and I customized it for Dubai. And we have a fully digital escrow solution where foreign investors transfer their funds, or foreign buyers transfer their funds into the escrow account, 1 day boarding, 1 day transfer, and then we transfer to the seller at the close of escrow, at the registration trustee office.
It's so needed here, and I think you're going to do so well with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's amazing. So you were really working on it towards the end of last year, and then you launched it this year, didn't you?
Launched it this year.
So that was really quick.
Yes. Like I said, I've had the concept in my mind. I've drawn it out. I did the architecture. The time that took, or the most time consuming process was to understand how individuals were doing it today. So how brokers were servicing the international buyers, and the options that were available. And when I saw that in real time, actually digging in and doing my homework and doing the user research, that's when I realized, okay, not only does it not exist, but the forms that are used to maneuver through it are not legal, not regulated, in the gray, and the investor funds are at risk. So this is when I realized, okay, need to create a proper regulated platform, insured, bonded, and something that is digitized, because we're dealing with countries from all over the world, and something that's digitized and in real time. This was very important. And also to get everyone on board, because the concept, even today, I speak to brokers every day. They are our main clients. And sometimes for them to wrap their head around the concept and not using manager's checks, that's a very hard one for some to digest. Some digest it very quickly and some don't. I really rarely find the ones in the middle. And it's just a lot of education that needs to happen.
So archaic using these managers' checks, isn't it?
It is. And once the brokers go through the process first time, they are hooked.
Yeah.
So for us, it's not difficult to onboard clients or to spread the word because, for example, if we do a transaction for a broker and they're in large brokerage, the next day, the following week, we have dozens of brokers calling us after that for their international
Well, exactly.
clients.
Brokers know brokers, don't they? So the word's going to spread, and yeah, that's great. And then you offer conveyancing services as well.
Yes. So initially, that was something that we had a big push in, or that we wanted to work on just as much as digital escrow. However, what we found with conveyancing, for those who don't do it in-house and who do come to us, they come with the very complicated cases or the cases that are already in trouble. So it's not something that,
Right.
And Majdal, who's our director of operations and legal, she's a real estate attorney. So people know that. So they, especially when they're already in legal trouble, we get a lot of that. So what we realize is to focus more on conveyancing for our escrow cases, and it just works brilliantly.
Yeah. And then the other services, the foreign exchange.
So our escrow platform is a foreign exchange platform, so it's built in.
Sure.
And it's an in-house white label solution built from scratch, and we do the trading. So my husband, who's my co-founder, he does all the trading on the foreign exchange platform, and we're able to save investors up to 2% just on the currency conversion. Which is very important.
That's massive, isn't it?
It is.
You know, if you're dealing in high ticket transactions, 2%, yeah.
Exactly.
Can be thousands of dirhams.
So on €1 million, so on Thursday, I posted a video. So the euro was 4.07 against the dirham. So if you invest, or if you sent €1 million, we can save you €20,000 just using our currency conversion.
Yeah.
So very simple. Like I said, one day onboarding, everything's digitized, and transfers come in within one day and leave within a day.
Yeah.
So it's very
really
fast.
I mean, when I used you, it was converting crypto, and it was just seamless, and it was a great rate, and that saved me a lot of money. So,
exactly. It took 2 days total.
Yes, it was 2 days total.
Yeah. So we're always trying to improve the process and make it better. So for crypto, we're currently implementing the same thing that we did for our escrow with a white label, fully customized solution. We're doing that right now for our crypto solution as well. And that should be up and running in a month.
And with crypto, I mean, generally it's pretty high at the moment. Of course, it could go higher, but a lot of people that have made profits want to put that into real estate. And
Yes. So we get a lot of requests, which is why we started to focus on on creating that crypto platform for RealTrust. We're trying to service the Russian and ex-Soviet states now.
Right. Yeah.
So they bought 2021, 22 mostly, and they're looking to sell. And unfortunately, they have no place to transfer their funds. So they're using USDT. And this is how we're servicing them.
And it's becoming more and more acceptable, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's great. So, but then the other thing you do, you provide these, so that's RealTrust. If we look at, you do quarterly property reports?
Yes, I still do that. So something that I started when I was at Property Monitor. We used to do monthly reports. Now I moved to quarterly. It's something I always am looking at the market. I'm always looking at the data and the statistics, and I'm always trying to figure out where the market is going because I always get asked. I used to be on the radio. I was on TV. So because of that, people still come to me to this day to ask me about their investment. And with our international clients, they ask me as well through the brokers. So the brokers are like, oh, can you help them with understanding how to make the proper investment here? Do they set up property holding companies? How can they secure their investment and where they should invest in? I get a lot of brokers asking me this question as well. So yes, quarterly report will be, I haven't looked at the data yet for Q3. So that's my homework for this week. So it'll be out probably end of this week or next week. Yeah. But yes, I still do that. And I love doing that.
Do you enjoy it?
I love it. I love data. I love real estate.
So where's the market going then?
So I haven't looked at the data yet for Q3, but I've been hearing, and I try to ignore what I hear.
You tell me first.
I'll send it to you guys first. Yes, for sure. But if we were looking, there's a lot of dynamics and there's a lot of factors now in the market, and they're all kind of not not interfering with each other, but they're all there and you cannot ignore them. So looking at the residential market, now listings are sitting longer on the market than before. So we're at 90 days plus.
So that's a negative.
It depends how you look at it. So it's a negative if you're a seller. Most likely your property was overpriced.
Yeah.
Which is what we've been having for the last year.
I meant really negative in terms of the price action.
Yes, but if you're a buyer looking to get into, for example, Dubai Marina, it's I don't say it's a good time, but it's a better time than last year to get into the market.
Because you believe that's a bit overpriced, don't you?
Yes.
Dubai Marina.
Marina, Palm, Blue Waters, downtown.
Yeah.
Overpriced.
Yeah.
Just because of the activity that we have had over the last few years. And what the activity we had over the last few years is an anomaly. It's not, geopolitical issues, people flooding into the country for safe haven to protect their funds.
Yeah.
So, and now they're exiting or they exited already. So,
yeah.
We're dealing with that and we will have to deal with that. Now, also we're dealing with off-plan and the amount of units that are coming into the market. So last time I checked, it was 305,000 units that were currently under construction, 45,000 total to be completed this year, 65 next year, 110 the year thereafter. So a lot of units are coming into the market. We're already seeing buildings being staggered in their handover. So for example, there's buildings completed today. Handover is not scheduled to June of next year.
Yeah.
This is going to be the market for, the next few years. So there's a lot of dynamics in the market, a lot of different factors. Some affect each other, some don't. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen in the next year.
Yeah, it's really good to get somebody on that does have a more realistic approach, slightly more negative than most people. Why I'm possibly a bit more positive is I do look at what's happening in Western countries and throughout the world. And I just think the number of people moving here is going to be very high and will soak up that supply. I also look at the money supply, and China have just announced quantitative easing again. Normally when one central bank goes, People's Bank of China, then the Federal Reserve will go, European Central Bank, Bank of England. So I think over the next few years, we're going to have another round of quantitative easing, a lot more money supply. That money's got to go somewhere. And traditionally over the years, real estate does provide a hedge for that.
It does.
So I look back at the UK in 1950 when, I'm just looking at data, but the average property price was £1,800.
Oh.
Today it's 300,000. What's changed? Well, the supply's gone up, the demand's gone up. They're going to be roughly similar, but the number of pounds in the system, quantitative easing, if you like, money supply. Mm-hmm. And I think we're in for a lot more of that. And that's why I'm bullish on not only Dubai, but real estate generally. But
yeah. No, for me, real estate's always that safe bet of investment. Just be smart about it and look at the data, obviously. But like I said, I started investing when I was 18 and I continued to invest my entire life. Am I investing now? No. I'm waiting.
You think there'll be a better opportunity in a year or two?
Yes.
Yeah.
When the off plan starts to get released. Absolutely.
Yeah. I listened to you on another podcast and you were more positive about commercial. Is that right?
To get your hands on commercial. If I knew, or if I know now, 5 years ago, what is happening now.
Yeah.
Just where our mindset wasn't there. And COVID really threw us into a spin, right? So I remember during COVID, that's when Dubai Hills was just about finishing. And when Dubai Hills was being constructed, like, what is all that commercial on Al Kahil Road and that part of town? It was a big topic of conversation. And now look at it. Now look at commercial. There's only 10 projects currently under construction today for commercial. 10.
I didn't realize it was that few.
That's it.
Not 10 sort of towers. Do you mean towers?
Yeah,
or
10.
Really?
10 towers.
Yeah.
10 projects.
And to run businesses in Dubai, you have to have premises, don't you? You have to have an office.
Yeah. So it's very difficult to find commercial space. It's extremely expensive. It's very hard to buy if you're looking to buy, even to rent. When we were looking for offices for RealTrust, it was not fun.
So if you can get the right commercial unit at the moment, then it's should be a good investment.
Absolutely.
Before I let you go, Lynette, can we just talk about MLS? Because I understand there's quite a few entities looking at Dubai with the possibility. Obviously, you're from the States where MLS started, didn't it? Can you maybe talk about MLS in the US and then how it may come into Dubai and what your thoughts are?
So the MLS is a multiple listing service. In the States, it started over 100 years ago as a book, a ledger. So it will go from real estate to real estate of what properties are available, what's sold, so forth, so on. It is not mandated. It is not regulated. It's a mindset. It's cultural. It's been done in the U.S. for over 100 years.
It's like convention, really, isn't
exactly. It is it is the law. It is the single source of truth in the U.S. It feeds the portals. So it feeds Zillow, Trulia, and the other portals. And it's just how business has always been done. Just like exclusivity. So MLS and exclusive listings go hand in hand. You cannot have MLS without exclusive listings. Also, exclusive listings in the US, it's not mandated. However, it's ingrained in the culture and is something that agents do. You get your listing form from the National Association of Realtors that you're a part of. And in there, you have an exclusive listing contract that the seller signs. Typically, it's anywhere between 2 months to 3 months. And then that listing goes on the MLS. That's how it works there. Is it mandated by the law that you have to have exclusive listings? No. It's just, it is what it is. And that's how it's done. Here in the region, especially this year, it was like the year of MLSs. I've had so many entities come to me to get I have a lot of people come to me for looking for advisement.
But you're the perfect person coming from the US,
PropTech,
fully understanding the system and PropTech.
So had quite a few this year come, and there's one in specific that came into the market from the US. This individual is called Arab MLS, and he is backed by CoreLogic. CoreLogic is the largest data company in the world. And also he owns, I believe it's called the Matrix platform, which is like the second largest MLS in North America. So he came, good funding, start the MLS here. But it's a process. To bring any kind of new concept, new technology into the market, it's a process because you have to change the mindset of the individuals. It's the same issue that I have at RealTrust with Escrow. It's a process, it's a mindset, it's education. So unfortunately, here, unlike the US, you would have to make exclusive listings a mandate from the government. It's not a mindset that's going to just happen overnight. And I don't believe the government is willing or wants to or sees the benefit of an exclusive listing market. So without that, you cannot have a successful MLS platform. You're going to be like any other portal like Property Finder, Bayut, or anyone else that's coming in. And it's unfortunate because I'm a firm believer and cheerleader for an exclusive listing market. I believe the whole market would change significantly for the better for everyone, buyers, sellers, and agents.
I totally agree.
And an MLS is just a perfect complementary part to that. I think it would be significant. I think it would be impactful. I think it's very much needed.
Because the problem at the moment is a broker will get a listing and a number of other brokers will also get that listing. And you're thinking as a broker, how much marketing effort am I going to put into this? Am I going to bother with virtual tours? Am I going to bother with professional photography? Because I could do all that work, do 30 viewings on the property, and then another broker could sell it. Whereas if you've got that exclusivity, you can put that effort in, can't you? Knowing that you you might get 3 months at it, and you should, as long as it's priced correctly and you've marketed it correctly, you should sell it.
It's a domino effect that improves the market. So as an agent, when you get an exclusive listing, you sign a contract with the seller. You are committed as an agent. It's your job to be a seller's broker, for example. So you market that listing, you put your funds towards it, you invest in it, you invest in the relationship with the seller. It doesn't exist here today in Dubai, what I'm saying right now. But this is what an exclusive market would do, and this is what MLS would do. So as the agent, you're doing all of this work properly to close this property. If you don't close it, if you ignore it, if you don't service that client, your reputation is on the line, and your reputation to list other properties is on the line because the word spreads, you get reviews, so forth, so on. Also, when it comes to the data, if there's an MLS system, you see what agent sold what in what area. So you can look at what agents specialize in an area. This is extremely powerful. This is how it would change the market significantly. And it's so much needed here.
Yeah.
Because like you said, one property is listed by 20 agents. They don't care. They don't know where the keys are. They don't go to the property. They don't meet the clients. It's not a professional market in any way, shape, or form. And it's unfortunate for the professional agents like yourself who are out there to properly do business. So yes, I think it will significantly clean up the market, make it professional, and enhance the entire real estate journey for everybody involved.
And as you say, it does have to be the government that legislate to bring it in, because to change the mindset, because the convention is different from the US.
Exactly.
And no, it's interesting. Let's hope that they'll change their mind. I mean, you managed to make it work with the escrow, so maybe you can have an impact and help bring it in.
I would love to. Let's see.
Yeah. Well, that's been really interesting. I'm so excited about the future for you with what you're doing.
Thank you.
I think it's going to work really well. And thanks very much for coming on the podcast today,
Thank you
Lynette.
so much for having me.